This is a test. This station is conducting a test of the emergency broadcasting system. This is only a test.
What's going on, Internet? Welcome.
Hello.
Major Rectangles Online. How's it going? How's it going, world? Internet?
Hope you're all doing okay out there.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Everyone's a little quiet to me. Maybe it's just me. I'm just going to turn things up on my end real quick.
I just need to speak up.
Hey, it's all good. Sometimes
Check,
we gotta be nice and loud. My microphone's busted, so everyone out there gets my laptop microphone today. Sorry about that, but thanks for joining us. This is going to be a great Dirty Rectangles Online. It is May. We're inching closer to summer. We have some games today that maybe exhumes some of that energy. It's going to be a good show. I'm excited for the games that we have today. How's everyone doing? Excellent?
Doing pretty good.
Folks in the chat,
Yeah.
you're doing good? How about Mr. Jonah Davison? How you doing today?
Real busy, but pretty good. Can't complain. Lots to do. Lots of testing. Lots of wild, weird stuff happening, which beats doing nothing.
There you go. Hell yeah. Eric Billingsley, how are you, man?
I'm pretty good. I recently moved to a new house, and I now live in an echoey orange void.
Enjoy your
In
void.
a cube.
One day we all hope to own our own void. James, Digital James, the internet's own digital boy.
I turned on my
21st century digital James.
I turned on my dehumidifier in the bathroom so I could enter into the contest of like who has the worst mic situation for the show this week. That we're all entering. Apparently, unbeknownst to me, I had to improvise last minute to get in on this to try to have the worst mic situation. Fortunately, folks, both of our guests have lovely mic situations. One of them is in a nice, cozy family environment. The other one is in more of a casual environment, but they both have great mics. And they're both great guests.
Excellent
Some
mics.
great games
That's why
to
people
show.
come here. It's for the mics.
Absolutely.
Do we want to do announcements?
Yeah, we got some announcements. There's things happening, right? Hey James, why don't you take us on a tour of what's going on?
What's going on in your Google Chrome panel?
Uh-huh.
Hopefully-
We need some transition music for this stuff. Some announcement music would be awesome. What is happening here?
I'm usually much better at this.
Scene behind the scenes.
I should have gone to my other scene. There we go. See, this one's already set up nice. I don't know why I ever clicked on that other terrible scene. All right, so
Scenes on scenes are happening over here.
there's too many scenes. Well, I have all these effects, and it's a whole thing. There's a call for artists, by the way. That's my way to segue into that. The Hand Eye Society is looking for artists of any discipline for an extended game jam, a paid extended game jam. $2,000 could be yours with no application fee if you are an artist who would be interested in working games. I guess they're sort of trying to set up a situation where they want to find as many sort of like interdisciplinary, people as they can, people with different interests, people that maybe aren't usually in the game space. I think is the main thing that they're trying to attract the most. And the idea is that they just want to put together teams. I'm guessing that this isn't really detailed, but I'm guessing that they're probably going to put sort of more of like a game developer type, someone with some experience at it, with someone else who comes from a very different background from that. That's my assumption. They're going to try to set up teams like that. But yeah, the main question that I had, which I think will be what most people have, is what kind of a time commitment is this? So it's going to be for several months, but I think I was trying to find information on this. I think that's just like 3 or 4 months or something like that. But the time commitment is entirely up to you. So the sort of logic behind that is that they want to kind of put together teams of people that kind of stated that they had a similar amount of time to put into this or whatever, so that they can put teams together that make sense, and then create games of whatever size or sophistication that ends up creating. So pretty free form, just trying to be open to people, not trying to scare anybody away. I mean, they specifically want people who maybe wouldn't usually be working on a game, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a neat thing. I don't know if it has a name. Oh, I guess it's just called the Super Jam.
Yeah.
It's called the Super Jam.
And there's an accompanying festival at the end, and I heard they're looking for 16 participants. That number might be off, but that's what I heard.
Yeah.
Tried to remember.
They've done similar projects in the past where they paired up people from different disciplines with game developers. There was the whole Comics X Games thing back when it was a jam as opposed to the event at TCAF, and games came out of that, like the Yogg, for example. So that one was another one where they paired comic artists, I think, with game developers to make games. So
the other thing I wanted to mention was that the first volume of the mixtape is out now as well, and they're doing submissions for volume 2. So that's just sort of this like a game bundle, basically, put together by Handai that people can get into by just sort of like entering it. I forget whether the games are like created like a jam-like function, or if you can just kind of apply with some game you've already made. But we'll have the link up for it and everything.
Hell yeah.
That's what's happening lately here in Toronto.
Is there other things that's going on? Was that it?
That was
There's, speaking of jams, another cool jam that's happening over on Glorious Trainwrecks and also on Itch, which also I think goes for a pretty long time. It's till the end of August. Is the Open World Jam.
yes.
Hosted by Kate Barrett. And so if you want to make a cool open world game, but not spend a lot of time on it and not polish it and take lots of shortcuts, that might be fun.
I've had a good idea for that in my back pocket for a while, then I need an excuse to actually sit down and do it. I want to make a mud. I'm going to say it out loud because that's going to force me to actually do it. I want to make a mud. I haven't seen a good mud in forever, and I want to make a mud, particularly an open world giant mud. That's what I want.
Totally doable. There's all sorts of stuff you can do to make that work now. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some like online networked seamless stuff that you could do with some of the weirder, newer things that the roguelike Celebration folks have been working on or something like that.
Yeah.
The other thing is your drone jam announcement, Derek.
Oh, it's not mine.
Oh, yes.
That's not mine.
Where's Canada?
Sorry. I believe that's over now, but it looks like a cool jam.
Drone Jam was a very cool thing. I do believe it is over now. However, if you took part of it and you made some droney mess, we would love to see it. Otherwise, feel free to just make some weird stuff. Drone Jam was a really cool idea just to make some more outsider art style games, right? Lean into the weird for the sake, or not even the weird, but just lean into the creativity for the sake of creativity. And they had some cool restrictions around specifically like drones and drone music tied to the drone festival and all that good stuff. Very, very cool things. You should definitely go and check that out if there's any submissions that came out of that. I think that's it.
The one last thing I'll mention is that Indiepocalypse, the ongoing game bundle zine thing that pays developers to put together little bundles of cool projects, continues. They're up to issue 30 now, and you can submit your game and get paid and spread your cool little game around. Highly recommend you take a look. Just search for Indiepocalypse on Itch, or search for Pizza Pranks, and you will find the creator's account.
It's a good name. All right, folks, we're going to take a small little break and come back with our very first presenter of the evening. Don't go anywhere. right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our very first presenter of the evening, Waylon Snedker. What's going on, Waylon?
Not much. Thanks for having me
Yeah,
aboard.
thanks for coming. What do you bring for us here?
Yeah, what game are we going to play today? We said while staring at the title screen with the title on it.
Spoilers.
So, this is Odd Realm. It's a simulation game that's focused on creating a colony in a fantasy world. So, you're just trying to keep some settlers alive. It's a sandbox game, which means there's no real end objective. You know, it's just about building and creating things. Kind of like Minecraft. If you've ever played Dwarf Fortress, you'd be very familiar with this because Dwarf Fortress is the first game in this genre, I would say. So I'm just gonna get us started in a brand new world and kind of get going.
Hell yeah. You had me at Dwarf Fortress.
Although me because there's no Earth, there's no Earth option. You know, like new or continue or Earth, like the old. I don't know, it's an old Civ joke. Sorry.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Yeah, in the original Civ, you could just choose to play on their set map of like the actual Earth, or you could generate.
Yeah. I've actually thought about adding that as like a preset, and also, please don't sue me, anybody, but like Middle Earth would be pretty cool.
Mm.
I think that would have to be a mod in order to not get sued.
Change it to moderate Earth.
So, real quick, what you're seeing here is just the faction select screen. Kind of one of the selling points for the game is that you can select different races that they have different gameplay mechanics. So the humans, they're kind of like your default starting race. They're going to have, you know, farming and a pretty good understanding of the various skills and get by okay. You know, if it's your first time, that's who you want to play. And then there's 4 other ones. I won't explain them all, but they all have different gameplay mechanics. I'm just going to leave everything as is. And I will disable the tutorial because I am the tutorial today. So
I see biomes.
there's not really any explanation for this stuff yet. No like cinematic explanation at this point in development, but you're presented with this overworld map, and every tile you click has a little special biome assigned to it. So you got your desert, your void lands, which are kind of like the magic area, the taiga, which is like Pacific Northwest, I guess. You got tropical islands. You can settle just in the middle of the ocean if you want to start on a raft.
Cool.
So I think Dwarf Fortress is the one that sort of spearheaded this, but maybe not. Every tile has its own unique terrain generation. So if you played Minecraft, you know exactly what that's all about. So I'm just going to pick someplace sort of kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys have a request.
Is it showing the actual generated terrain like in that?
Yeah.
On the top right? Very cool.
On the top right here,
Yeah,
you should see a preview of the terrain.
that's cool.
Sorry, on stream we kind of got your
So-
top of it, but I think we can kind of see the bottom half of it.
Yeah, so this has like a little river going through it. I'm just gonna jump into Taiga Place just to be safe. And then you're presented with some
The tile.
Evil, no, that, yeah.
Then you're presented with some starting options. I'm just going to click the basic one. Now, it's going to give us 5 human settlers, and they all have their own specialty of farmer, carpenter. There's a bunch of different professions they can have. And at first glance, it's a bit confusing because this sort of perspective isn't extremely common right now. But what you're seeing is sort of a cross cutout of the camera and the Z level. So if I move the camera down in the Z, it's going to start to cut through the earth, and you can kind of see it.
Oh,
And as I go back into the sky, you'll see the top of the trees. And so I always go to the layer that's right above the terrain, and you choose your starting point, and right away your little settlers will show up. And what they have is, I'll just zoom in a bit, it's kind of hard to see, but they have these little crates that have food stores in there and materials to build with. But first thing we want to get going on is chopping down trees to collect lumber to start building things. So this is our forester, and he's just going to go off and do that. And the other thing you want to do is start farming. Now, the way to get going on various trades is to start placing down rooms. So you start off, I just hit R, you start off with these 4 rooms. There are way more to get as you start to unlock research. But the one that we want to look for is the farm. Doop. And forgive me, this is like a lot of systems, so stop me at any point. It's a lot of complicated stuff. It's going to be overwhelming, I'm sure.
As an avid Dwarf Fortress player, I can follow along very easily. I'm sure all the other Dwarf Fortress players are also like, it's going to put down some workshops and maybe make a ramp. So I'm sure everybody else is following along. But I have no frame of reference for what somebody not familiar with Dwarf Fortress, how they would be.
So
if it's too much info or not.
I've tried to play Dwarf Fortress before, and this to me is much more clear what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely super clear. I love the graphics. I like entirely. I was going to say that even just from that world view scene, I really find it interesting just how low res you went, and yet everything looks very readable and very nice. And I think that because of that sort of like macro size of the sort of like the resolution of which you're viewing the world, that I think it makes a lot of sense to do it the way that you've done it, like have that just enough detail to get stuff across and look sort of classy, but not anything more than that, because it's allowed you to kind of do like all these different views from like worldview right down to this, and everything kind of looks the same and fits.
Yeah, I would do a higher fidelity. I mean, one day I would love to do higher resolution, but it's just I'm the only person in the game, so it's like the small resolution helps me get things made quicker, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what I was kind of.
Yeah, it looks nice. Just like the silhouette of things and the shapes, it's easy to distinguish what different things are and like not confuse them just from looking at it.
Excellent. That is good to hear. I was just with that UI back there. I was these are the jobs that you can automate, and I was just getting a carrot planting one going. I'm not going to go into too much depth there because it's the most complicated screen. So the other thing I'm going to do is place down a stockpile so that we can start to organize our items, because there's a lot of items in this game. And that's one of the rooms that you can place. And I always place it where my starting crates are, because they can hold more items on one tile. Without a crate or some storage device, they're only holding upwards of 5, whereas a crate can hold 50. But I'm going to start building a little base. Most people choose between the like house on the surface or an actual mine fort, kind of like Dwarf Fortress. So we'll just kind of do that as the most common one. So I'm going to build down into the dirt, this little ladder, and our builders will get going on that. And I'm going to zoom out to see this tile we're on. This is the second largest map size. They go up to 256 by 256. This is 128 by 128. And this is kind of the default.
It's so funny how gamey it feels as soon as you have a game where you take some sort of action and it puts like a grid there that isn't normally there. And you got to kind of place something on the grid, and then it goes away like as soon as you're done placing the thing. It's something I think is very inherent to video games. You don't see that in a lot of other experiences.
I know somebody who's like never played video games would be like, "What's happening?" But So yeah, I'm just building a little compound, really, and I'm going to put a torch down. So I'm holding shift. You can hold shift and do like a key search to kind of organize this. I'm going to build that. Actually, I'll build that there.
So this whole world is only 128 tiles across? Yep. It's crazy.
Yep.
It's interesting to me. That number I find almost shocking because it feels way bigger just by the way that you've maybe, designed it or laid it out or something like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, and you should see the 256 by 256 is just like, oh my gosh, this is almost too much.
Interesting.
Especially when it takes them so long to run across the map. Okay, so these are some NPCs on the map. I'm just going to pause the game real quick. They're kind of aggressive, so I'm just going to attack them. So I selected them. It's kind of got the RTS controls where you can select settlers and attack. So I'm just going to let them do that. I'm pretty sure he just ran into the mine. It's kind of like hard to tell what's going on there. We killed him. I'm sorry. Sorry, little guy. Okay, he's running away. And so the progression for the game is heavily led by what's called the Saga overlay. And this shows you the technology that you can unlock as you're playing. Now, there are two types of items which really determine your progression. The first is called Ren, which is like the currency in the game. And if you place down a merchant room, you'll have merchants show up in your town. And you'll be able to buy things with Ren. And then the second resource that's really valuable for progression is the tomes that the settlers will write as they are doing their jobs. So if you have a miner, they'll write a tome of industry, and you can then use those tomes to unlock research in this this window. And all those items are physical in the world. So when you have Ren, you want to put that in a safe place because people will come and steal it. And also, the Ren attracts other factions to come and attack. So maybe you don't want that much, or you do. I don't know. So we'll unlock the next progression, which is kind of like the wood tier. It's going to unlock the wood mill. And so we're going to put our homes down here and the wood mill on the surface. Now, if I open up the production window, I'm hitting all the wrong hotkeys. We got a wood mill now. And I can start to add these jobs to the wood mill. And the main resource that I like to start off with is the wood plank, because you can start to make better wood walls and furniture and various things. So I'll just add that job there. And it's saying I need a workbench. So if I open my build menu and look for RK for workbench, I'm going to hold tab. So it's right there. And I can just place a few of them. And they'll get going. And I can, at any time I can speed up the game up here.
So is it like you create the job and then people just kind of assign themselves to that task after that?
Yeah, I'll pause. And in here, this is the most complicated screen. My next update kind of fixes a lot of this up. But here, what it's saying is that when you have wood planks less than one, queue up one wood plank job. So if I said, okay, if I have less than 100 wood planks, let's queue one job. And if I unpause, you'll see the job appears here.
Okay.
And pretty much, sorry, all the rooms have that auto job capability. Now, the other thing for humans that's really important is placing down rooms, little houses. And the settlers, they will automatically join these based on a couple different default settings. So I'm going to open up the room owner window, and it's showing me a list of all the rooms, and I can see that the requirements for them joining this room. And I don't really have to touch anything here. If I wanted only, I don't know, miners to go in, like the miner profession to go in there, then I could change the profession requirement. There's a lot of things you can mess around with. You could rename your room. You could create stockpile settings like our default stockpile has. So you could say, hey, only bring rope bucklers to the bedroom or the home floor. Now, what's important is we put beds in these rooms for 2 reasons. The first being we want them to have a good night's sleep, because over time they will lose energy, and I'll talk about the attributes in a sec. But the other thing is that humans, the way you get more humans in your settlement is that having them procreate, and they won't do that without a proper home. And so the time scale in this game is much different than our human time. Pretty much 1 day is a year for these guys. And it's very quick for people to have children. But I did mention the attributes. So this one entity attacked us. These guys are kind of aggressive, like I was saying. That's what's happening.
Who's the guy that attacked? Does it say what he is?
He is there is like a combat log here that you can look at, but they're one of the sort of fantasy races called Vitrax. They're just like dogs with horns, essentially.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is them.
Yeah, so
and they'll come and steal your food.
Like a lot of the
Pardon
systems,
me?
like a lot of the systems in this are very Dwarf Fortress inspired. So players of that are probably pretty used to them. I think sort of one of the like I saw Eric was asking questions about it right away, was just that sort of it's a very Dwarf Fortressy concept of I'm gonna like create jobs, and then if I have somebody who is capable of doing that, who like wants to do it, they will then go and do it. I feel like so many people are used to like the inverse of that. They're used to like an RTS where like you're selecting a unit and telling them to do something, not saying you want something done and then it only happening if you have a person capable of doing it. You know what I mean? So you're able to kind of like give orders that can't be done, you know what I mean, if you don't have someone with that profession or whatever yet, which I think can trip up sort of like novice players of Dwarf Fortress or games like this, because they have to kind of think, you know, have the people to do the thing first and then create a job for it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. One way I sort of ease that is if you open, you can open their info screen here, and you could enable the various skill requirements. So if I wanted Tanagra to start mining, they could do that. Keep being attacked.
Yeah, like that's another interesting thing, is that sometimes if you just don't have anybody that has that profession, you got to kind of just tell someone like, you're going to learn to do this from now on. And they'll just be really bad at it when they first do it, but they'll gain skill in it over time.
Yeah, I guess like the closest thing to this I've seen is I used to play a lot of Populous 3, and in that game you would like put down plans for buildings, but people would just go build them on their own and they would go gather the wood.
Yeah, that's
you could order them to do that stuff, but you didn't have to.
Very similar.
Sort of like a more complex version of that.
Yeah, it's a very similar structure, like direction of command or whatever you want to call it.
Interesting.
The thing I love about Dwarf Fortress was that they eventually had to introduce the ability to see what the psychology of your dwarves is earlier on than originally you were able to. I think you actually like literally needed like a psychiatrist or something like that to be able to figure that out in early builds. But people were annoyed because they would like put out an order to like build some kind of workshop or something, and they think they have the people to do it, but then like nobody's doing it, and they're just like, why is nobody doing it? And they're just like, your stonemason is actually they're cripplingly depressed.
Yeah, wasn't there like an external program that people would use to like figure out how their dwarves were feeling?
Yeah, it had a funny name. I can't remember what it was.
Dwarf therapist or something like that.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
I mean, that's when you start dealing with a game that's all about these small systems and these interactions and these AIs and stuff like that. Is yeah, you want to catch that AI behavior before it goes into a bad direction that you can't pull it out of anymore. It's too real.
Yeah. Yeah, I think RimWorld's pretty. I don't know if you guys have played RimWorld. That's pretty heavy on the mental aspect of it for the settlers that are there. You know, they'll go insane and like massacre half the town, and you really have to be careful about. You know, is this person getting rained on every night?
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's so many
I've actually
games.
had.
There's so many games that have come out that are very inspired by Tarn Adams' game, by Dwarf Fortress. I mean, I think even like a visual version of it has come out, right? But I think even that is other people working on it or whatever.
Yeah, there's the Kit Fox version, right?
But you had like Prison Architect, and then that kind of seems to have begot RimWorld and stuff like that. Like a lot of my buddies play RimWorld. I haven't checked it out yet.
Eric McQuiggan heard us talking about roguelikes and Dwarf Fortress and materialized in our chat.
Materialized before us.
Yeah, someone said Dwarf Fortress and I showed up.
Yeah.
It's cool to me though, like it's really sort of created like a very vibrant genre with like a lot of, you know, like iteration on the concept from that. So it's kind of neat that it's just like that game that is like so inscrutable. It has such a high barrier to entry. Like I actually read a Wikipedia about Dwarf Fortress for like a week before I even like attempted to start playing it, which is something that I think a lot of people would not do and generally don't do for most games that they play. But it's sort of like, yeah, it's like a certain kind of person who had to be interested in it. But it's neat to me that Tarn Adams' game has created such a like a microcosm around it of other people, you know, inspired by it, trying to make more sort of accessible versions of it and stuff like that for people, or ones that are just kind of different or whatever. But yeah, it's neat because it's just this game that this like one guy and his brother sometimes gave him ideas, you know, made for like years on a completely voluntary donation based funding model where like
That's the crazy thing.
he literally like
It's
made
like how
he found a cheap way to make pizzas that were all the same, and that's like what he subsisted on for like a year one time while making that game.
wow.
And like made blog
That's
posts about that
amazing.
stuff. Such a strange guy, very very unique game developer and game. that came
He's
out of
probably like the nicest person ever.
it. Yeah,
I don't know if you've ever heard him in interviews, but he just seems so kind and like chill. I don't know, he's a good dude.
Anyway, what do we got going up here? We have some kind of building here now.
Yeah, so I'm just putting a roof on the wood mill, and a fence around the farm. The idea is to expand this little underground fort. Some things I didn't mention. There are seasons. So the one season that you have to look out for in the Taiga biome is the winter season, because as soon as it starts snowing, the weather gets colder. A lot of these crops will not survive. So either you want to start working towards unlocking the research to make glass so that you can make a greenhouse so that light can get in there, or you want to start making flour and foodstuffs that can survive in a pantry for a long time, because the raw food that you have will decay after a certain amount of time. The other thing you can do is get like fishermen going, and they're kind of viable in the winter, but the problem is this will turn into a frozen lake, so the fish are a bit harder to get to. But it's a method. I don't know.
Yeah. Got Adrian chat saying "Don't starve" flashbacks. From looking at that.
Oh yeah.
So what kind of interactions with sort of like that come from like outside of your sort of like immediate map are you doing, or are you like even planning to do? You know, like how like in Dwarf Fortress you can have like these goblin and sort of invasions that happen, or you can have like big like merchant caravans come in sometimes and stuff like that. Or I think you get like migrant events and stuff like that too.
Yeah, so there is an event system in the game, and if I unlock this market, I can place down the market room, and at some point in the future, a merchant will arrive, and they'll have random items to sell. So my plan, this is pretty early in the event's development, I would say, but my plan is to have, if I just pause the game and open up the overworld map, at this screen, I want to show various nations, and I want players to be able to interact with those. And that's the stuff that I'll be implementing this year. And the idea is you'd be able to trade with them, you would be able to invade them if you wanted. I want players to be able to expand to different tiles to start to grow their kingdoms, and that's when I'm really going to lean into the simulation part of the game, because you might decide, and you can migrate right now, but you might decide to migrate into another tile to expand that kingdom, and the people you leave behind will continue to be part of your kingdom, but they're going to do their own thing. So you might come back and see, like let's say you didn't hear anything from them for a long time. Then maybe they got invaded, they all starved to death, and you would come back to a totally abandoned city. Or they are thriving and they're sending you Ren every month as like a tax, perhaps. So lots of big plans for the interactions around the world. And there are some events in the game that I've added just more as testing, but there's people will come and kidnap children, and your children might come back later as like grown-ups, or one thing you will definitely encounter is bandits. So depending on how much Ren or how much currency you have in the game, it'll attract bandits more often, and the amount of gear they will have on them is going to be dependent on how far progressed you are. And yeah, each race in the game has a different sort of story. There is a backstory to the game. It's a bit different from Dwarf Fortress in that regard, because Dwarf Fortress writes the history of the world and all the characters, it just generates them. And in my game, I've actually written this out. I wanted to go down the path of like a Robert Jordan, where it's like, no, I know exactly what happened in the past, and I want players to sort of uncover that together and piecemeal those breadcrumbs together, so that they can, feel like sleuths almost. They're like figuring out, well, why, there's a big event in the game called the Fracture. Why did this thing happen? And how did it happen? And it's the explanation for why you're starting from scratch, because there was this big event that sort of sent the world into the Dark Ages again.
I bet it was those dogs
that's
with
that.
horns.
So I'll have to say about that.
Those dang horn dogs.
I think that's a cool combination too of having sort of like what the player is doing and what they're experiencing being so procedural, but then having sort of this like static, almost like rock that you gotta kind of chip away at in terms of like, story lore or like history of the sort of universe that it's in or whatever. So there is kind of like a very like, what would you call it? Like, I don't want to say static. There's probably like a nicer sounding word than that, but you know what I mean? Like there's like a set amount of content to the game that you can kind of complete, but your tool for completing it is this like totally dynamic, groovy, like, you know what I mean? Like just kind of dynamic system based thing.
Yeah, totally. And this is something I want to work on for as long as I can, kind of the same way that Tarn Adams is working on Dwarf Fortress. I kind of want to keep adding stories and new things to build and different races to play that have different mechanics. And really, it depends on if the game sold enough. So hopefully it does. But that's like the long-term goal, and I would love to even have an HD version that is developed in parallel, almost like you could play this old retro-looking one, or you could play the HD one for people that just, I get a lot of comments saying like it's really hard to read, and I totally understand that because of the pixel graphics, but I would love to do an HD version to fix that.
Yeah, it's funny.
down.
I think they put Tarn's game in. Oh my god, I'm gonna forget the name and show that I'm some uncultured oaf. What's that museum that they put in Pomona?
The Natural History or the History Museum or something,
Yeah.
Something like that.
right?
They put Tarn's game in some kind of museum, and my joke is that the like eventual like exhibit for that will just be like his actual skeleton in like a box next to the game.
Yeah,
done it his whole
sure.
life.
Yeah, it's funny. Whenever people compare my game and to Dwarf Fortress, it's like you're comparing Usain Bolt to like some 8-year-old kid that's just entered track.
He's pretty fast. That kid.
Still pretty
Like
fast.
he's so much different.
So I may have missed this earlier. Sorry, I came in a little bit late. Are there random events and random things that kind of show up and can upend it, or is it just like you're fighting against the slow the atrophy because of the elements?
A bit of both. I was just kind of going into how the events will. Oh, speak of the devil. So one of the events is like settlers showing up. This is like the most minor event that can happen.
Oh, somebody was also asking in the chat, what's the way that you're communicating the story sort of stuff? Is there just like events or like cutscenes or characters that show up or something?
So that part isn't really added yet, but I have plans to add a screen which is like the it's part of this saga overlay. It's like your town's story, and it'll have two parts. One is your family tree, which will describe which families are like mixing and where people are from. And then there's the part that will almost like a wiki track the things you've discovered. So in the future, I haven't added these yet, but in the future, you'll have items to discover, which will appear there, and it'll have like the description when you meet certain people, when certain, let's say you uncover a tomb that is relevant to the history of the world, it'll sort of have a section there. However, I'm a firm believer in not giving away too much. I want players to sort of work together on Reddit and various forums talking about like what actually happened and start to put it together like that. Kind of like a Dark Souls does, they don't give you very much to work with. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, some cool ideas you might want to try that I'm going to suggest just because I'm working on kind of a similar mechanic for my game is if you actually like found like ruins sometimes, that could be a neat way to do it as well. But then also just having sort of like a directly like labor like skill based way of doing it too, where it's like if you have like a room you can build that's like a library or like some place for like a scholar, and then like a migrant scholar comes, he could like write down knowledge that he like knows from like where he came from or whatever, and then you like learn that information that way kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that you suggest that, because that's sort of along what I was thinking as well. If you open up the Saga screen, you can unlock the library. Where did I put the library again? Yeah, so I selected the library here. So there's ink, paper. You can write all these books. It requires a scholar or the scholar profession. So I think that's a great idea to like have them, chronicling the story of your settlement, like what's happened. Ruins are definitely going to be a thing. There are actually ruins in the world to find now, but there's not necessarily, oh, this is from the Battle of whatever. But you can find lots of tombs underground as you're mining. So I don't know if it's very easy to understand, but if you look over here to the left, there's like a depth bar. More than half the world is underground, and so there's lots of stuff here that you can find now that there's various gods in the world that you can find. There's if you're playing as the ancients, one of their like unique mechanical features is that they don't procreate. They're immortals. They're just like skeletons. So you have to find them underground, and they are in these stasis chambers, basically. And as you find them, they'll have a little dialogue blurb and tell you what's up. Keep running out of
Very
wood.
cool.
Yeah, this is awesome. I've already bought it on Steam, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So yeah, let's do this. Where can people find this? I guess on
So
Steam.
this is on Steam is the best place. You can find it on itch. You can find it on GOG. And that's for now it.
Oh yeah.
And you can also follow me. It's just Waylon Snedker, WAYLON SNEDKER on Twitter. That's my little handle, big handle, whatever.
Perfect. I got it up on the screen here now. Waylon, this is super cool. Thank you so much
Cool.
for showing this to us, man.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So everyone go follow Waylon, go buy his game. Let's get some Doritos in the chat for Waylon, please, and his amazing roguelike. And we will be back in just a minute with our next presenter. Don't go anywhere. ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our next and final presenter of the evening, Indigo Doyle. What's going on, Indigo?
Hey, not much. Just slaving away on this game.
Hell yeah. I have been spying this game on the Twitters a little bit lately, and it looks super cool. I'm very excited to see this.
Awesome. I'm excited to watch you see it.
Let's do this. We have Eric playing this right now.
Yep.
Yeah, you wanna let's
Hit the play button.
Let's roll the Uh-oh. There we go. Okay, what is this, Indigo? What are we doing here?
All right, so we are literally in the street that I grew up in. I'm from Belleville, Ontario. If anybody knows where that is, shout out. And so I made a lot of these houses off of houses that I grew up around, or just in the same neighborhood that I might not have even seen growing up, but was really I Google mapped for hours, honestly. And yeah, so I have this little park to the right that you can't go into yet, but it's based off of a park. It's like a rose garden where I grew up. And you can kind of see it, but there's a little fountain over there that has a giant flower, and that's where water will come out eventually. So I had fun making that. And there's also my favorite part is this music mechanic that we put in. It's based off of me as a child, or a teen, playing music on my MP3 player and sort of vibing out to that. So choosing a different playlist, Good Times is upbeat music, and Beast playlist is linked to post-processing effects, which kind of give you the vibe of that playlist. So in this one, things are more saturated and you move a lot faster.
Yeah.
And we even have a couple of, oh my god, there's a power line. We even have a couple of, don't get electrocuted. I actually saw that once. I literally went there 6 months ago, and I went rollerblading, and I went on the street, and there was literally a power line just down on the sidewalk. So it's accurate. It's accurate.
There you go. Environmental storytelling.
Exactly.
You know what I like about this game a lot? Is it gives the vibe that I get when you bike. You live in a city for a long time.
Oh, it's too steep.
And most of the time that you move around a city, you're moving around in a car, you're moving around in a bus, and you kind of miss a lot of the kind of the little things that are part of the place where you live or where you grow up. But if you get a pair of rollerblades or you get a bike and you go out there and you ride it, you can take a look at the things you're passing by, and you see a whole bunch of little things. And it's like seeing that park. It'd be like if I was in a car, I would drive past that park a million times. But if I was on my bike or rollerblades, I'd be like, yeah, I could go through this park. I need to check this out. And then you find these little locations that you've been around forever. And it's, I get that feeling, and it's definitely very neat. So.
Oh, awesome. Cool. That's perfect. That's exactly the vibe. So I'm glad that comes across.
Yeah, it's funny when I look at images of this game, especially now here, seeing somebody actually playing it in full motion. I mean, even just this park over here that's by the water or whatever.
It's Ontario.
Funny. Everything, yeah, everything feels like this is our natural surroundings. All of us here on the podcast, pretty much. So there's something that seems generic about it. And yet it's so extremely specific. I recognize this as small town Ontario, for sure.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Definitely.
Yes.
It's 100%. What's the term? Someone's impression is really good or whatever. It's extremely accurate. And yet, just because of the people we are, it seems so generic. But I assume somebody who comes from a different, who comes from Southwest LA or something like that. It would look oh, what is this? A quaint little Canadian or northeastern town or something,
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad that it's giving off the vibe that I was going for. Thank God. I just wanted to point out a couple of things, just because you might miss them because they're not fully done yet. There's actually a couple of NPCs in here. They are literally capsules with faces right now, but they can talk to a couple of them. I think there's one on the left, right there.
Oh,
yeah.
Hello. Oh, hi.
It's this terrifying face. But I'm
so happy.
This is power.
This is the new Dirty Rectangles NFT character.
Oh no.
All of our shows, and
Oh my god, yes.
we're starting an IPO for it.
Oh my gosh. My programmer was suggesting having the faces blink, which I don't know is kind of terrifying, but yeah. So there's a couple of different NPCs you can talk to at the moment. They kind of have some like first pass dialogue that I'm sort of trying out at the moment. But yeah, that's like a lot of the game would be talking to NPCs and hearing like random stories. And if you're from small town Ontario, you might know that there's always like some random people that will always talk to you for like 20 minutes about nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going with that vibe, but like just comical and weird a little bit.
Yeah, I like that there's a dialogue option here to not understand the joke they made. That's good.
Smile and nod.
Schooly D in the chat is saying that they love seeing a game that's early enough in development that you still have the capsule people. That's what we shoot for. That's what we want on Dirty Rectangles.
Right.
If you don't have
yeah.
capsule NPCs in your game is too done to be on this show.
I think Council
For
would
sure.
They should be here to stay.
I know. Part of me is like, I could save so much time. I could just put them in, and like, it's definitely a temptation to leave the capsules for sure. Maybe that's the like extended edition or something, for sure. And
Very pleasant conversation.
there's also if you wanted, there's a couple of other playlists that you could try that just sort of show the different effects.
Right, yeah.
If you actually go to the down playlist, this is like the sort of like you're feeling sad playlist. So all of the visuals kind of switch to this like sadness, dark, and you also move slower as well, which is not super obvious visually, but like you can feel it when you play. I feel like anyway.
This
So
is
it
where you
seems
live
like-
in the. This is where you live in the world where the GTA protagonist has died.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
yes.
But
That's
you're
exactly
fine.
what-
You're just rollerblading through Belleville. But somewhere
my
in the
God.
world, the GTA protagonist has died.
That is literally what it looks like too. That's hilarious.
And there's like a bit of like a depth of field effect going on too. That's cool.
Yeah, I plan to like polish these up a bit and add a bit more effects of like different things in the environment, switching up a little bit as well. But yeah, this is sort of the basis for it.
This is
Yep.
it's a gray day out, and I need to get new glasses.
There's a excellent suggestion in the chat here from Shamper that you should go to a convenience store after collecting a bunch of coins and get some stuff like candy or pop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very small town
Actually,
Ontario.
You get a bottle
you
of
go-
Orbits.
If you go around, there actually is a corner store that I specifically put in.
Oh,
It's at the
yes.
end of the street if you keep going. It's literally like I went to this corner store probably daily. I had a paper route and it was right along the route, and I would go and I would buy like a can of pop, a bag of candy, and like a chocolate bar, and I would just have it like on me during the route, and I would like slowly be eating it, and it was like such a moment. So yeah, it's like right here in front of you.
Oh yeah.
Over there, yeah. You can't go in it, but I did make the inside of it. You might be able to see a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
so
dude
the-
hanging out up front.
There was an interesting
And,
question in the chat here because there's like clearly a huge amount of nostalgia involved with this for you. Where was it? Magna Magnus asks, do you ever get nostalgia working on this, or is it just like 100% gang wrangling? Like, do you find yourself getting lost in it sometimes and just being like, or does this game give you nostalgia, or does the nostalgia bring the game?
I guess it's both. Like, I definitely have like a lot of moments where I'm like, oh my god, I'm literally home. Like, there's one like corner of the street that I made almost exactly the same
Right.
as how it is in real life, and when I'm like looking at that angle, I'm like, oh my god, I'm literally like standing there. So I'll definitely have that moment where I like kind of freak myself out a little bit. But also like adding in little things, like I think I spent like an hour just like setting up this one house and like decorating it and making it look like really accurate to how people set up their houses.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll like be building and it kind of like builds itself as well. It's just, yeah, it's pretty fun.
Interesting.
It's an interesting thing because I feel like there's got to be level designers out there who have made an environment in a game sort of reminiscent of some place they've actually been.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? To like elicit some sort of emotion or something like that. So they just use something they know, even if they're doing so intentionally or otherwise. So it's sort of like going full bore to be like, no, I'm gonna actually map out my entire town I grew up in.
Yeah. It's almost
And
like
that's
there's,
the
there's almost like a slippery slope there, though, in terms of like how precise are you gonna go? I was working on a small horror thing, and I had to build a house, and I was like, I'll just map my old house that I grew up in because that's creepy for me, and why not? But then you go down this rabbit hole of like, how accurate do I need this to be? Because when it's something that you're so invested in, you have this like deep knowledge of, you're like, oh, but I could just go one level deeper. I can go one level deeper, right?
Oh my god, you're literally talking about my life.
where do you stop? Right?
Oh my god, I literally had to stop myself because I was like, it will take several years if I don't stop.
Sure.
Because like there are certain places that I was like, oh, I really want to just make this like perfect, and then like 6 hours later, it's not done. So I'm like, oh my god, I have to stop.
Interesting. Yeah.
Actually, really quickly, I have an obsession with making props. So can you just look at that for sale sign? Actually, if you go backwards.
It's very good.
I love this for sale sign. Like, I don't know why this is like my favorite thing, and I put this like pun on it as well.
If I can't.
That would definitely be on a real sign.
It's so good.
Oh my god, I'm so glad I got to show that. It's like literally I just made it like the other day, and I was like, this is the best asset. This is my favorite part of the game.
And you didn't go for a 555 number either. actual
What
phone
did I
number.
even put? Oh, I should have. I purposely kept phone numbers off of this sign actually.
That looks real.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah, it
I've seen
looks-
that sign.
Yeah.
That's
Right. I think I did actually literally base that off of one of the signs in Belleville, which is I was really happy with that.
I like if I could gush about some of the details, the guide wires for the post, the yellow clad ones. It's like
Yes.
those see those all 100% all the time. Some of these houses I'm like, I've been to this neighborhood of houses like in St. Catharines.
Mhm.
I just I love the layout of it because like just that trail or like the park areas,
Mhm.
it's so small town Ontario because it's so like, oh, there was nothing here. There was a bunch of woods or swamp or whatever, and they put up a subdivision, and then they're like, we should have some green spaces, and so then they put them in like this, and this is exactly what they look like trees that have been there for a couple of years, like that kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it starts at a road and it dumps you back off at a road because
Yeah.
you have to spend most of if you're riding along the waterfront, you spend most of it on roads.
Yeah, for sure. It's like it's so accurate because I'm glad it like translates because there's actually a trail in Belleville that goes behind a bunch of houses and I like literally ripped that. And there's certain like random spots in the city that just have this like brick wall instead of a fence, but it's not tall. It's like 3 feet. And I like purposely put that in. And I was like, let's just put that along the water. Why not?
Ooh, what are
so,
those
like-
things called where it's like they're always in a subdivision? Is it like a retaining pool or whatever? You know,
Yeah,
where like a
retention
bunch
ditch.
a bunch of the sewage will empty out into this one kind of like area,
Ew.
and it just becomes really overgrown, and there's just
No,
kind of like a pond there, but it's just like the sewage water.
It's not sewage, it's storm drain.
Oh, it's storm drain water.
So I should put
Yeah, I
the
guess it would be
sewage
sewage.
in, I guess, is what you're saying.
No, the
There's
storm.
not enough sewage in the game.
those storm drain areas, just because I remember sneaking around those as a kid and like seeing if there's tadpoles in them, that kind of
I
thing.
think we might have had different childhoods. I don't remember that at all.
And if you find sewage there, that's a problem.
Literally. Oh man, I was gonna say something, but I forget what it was. But yeah, there's definitely parts of it where like I I actually like took pieces and like Frankensteined the city because like I wanted to make it really accurate. And at first, I think I had like 8 or 10 blocks that I had wanted to do. And then I was like, this is huge. So I shortened it to these like 6 blocks. And then I just took like sections. So it's like part of Albert Street, part of Foster. And then like literally one side of the street is like a certain street in Belleville. And then the other side directly across from it is like totally different street. But I really wanted to put that house in. So I did it. So it's kind of like you're blading throughout the whole neighborhood, even though it's only 6 blocks.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have like a bunch of lore that I want to put into, but it's like I'm trying to make it not too specific, so I don't want anyone to be like, that sounds like me.
You're like, this is my house. I can see into my own house.
Yeah, there's actually, if you go back down that street you were just on, to the left, or to the left, and then straight down, it's actually where you started the game. That was actually where I grew up, so I like purposely made that house right there on the left.
Starting point.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I literally grew up there, and I was like, this has to be perfection. And it's like, I feel like it's like 90% accurate, so I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, those recycling bids are excellent.
What are you building?
Maya.
Maya? Okay.
Yeah, I actually built a bunch of modular pieces, and then I just built them all as prefabs in Unity. So like, each house is just like a base with like a door snapped on the front, and then like some windows and stuff, which was actually like really time consuming but fun. Like I got really excited to make these little like bay window things, whatever those are called, and like all the balconies and hanging planters and lanterns and stuff.
That looks like Derek's old house.
It does.
It does. Yeah, it does. That's true.
I think you can actually go up it. I'm pretty sure all the collision is working, so you should be able to go onto the balcony porch thing. Yeah. You can't sit down, but you can stand there. Oh, there's a little cat too.
Oh, I'm feeling
You can kind of
nostalgic.
see it.
Oh.
Hanging out.
Can you pet the cat?
Not yet. Not yet. It's on the wish list. It will happen eventually.
Excellent.
I think the cat should always.
No, I see the face.
I think the cat should always run away from you if you get too close.
Yes,
You have to get kind of close to them, and then you have to bend down and make the cat noise and rub your hand like you have something for them. And then
the
they
right,
come
the
and you
right
can pet them.
playlist or something.
Right, yeah. I really wanted to put that in, like, they're all afraid of you, because the amount of times I've rollerbladed past, like, a dog and it freaks out, like, I really wanted to put that in. So that's definitely probably, like, a wish list polish thing. Have, like, some, like, feral dog noises happening, I don't know.
Always
How
the
long-
sound of a lawnmower in the distance, constantly.
You should also have to find like a turtle or maybe a very small snake somewhere.
Oh my god. There's also, I forgot to mention, in the same like UI as the music playlists, there's a notes section, which is basically like your quest journal. So right now you have talk to your neighbors, which is like go around and talk to people. And then like later, every time you have like a new interaction, it would appear there. And eventually I'm going to make like some fake album art, so it shows up in the now playing section. I'm really excited to go like really camp with that. Mm-hmm.
How long have you been working on this now for?
I think it's been just over a year actually, which is crazy. It feels like it's been like 10 years, but
It's a lot of houses.
Yeah, it's impressive.
yeah. Actually, if you go to the end,
I like this house. It's a nice house. Sorry,
this is my. It needs to be watered. Yeah, this house right here. It's actually like completely pink, just like different shades of pink and white.
yeah.
And I actually made this because of my mom. She's like, her last name is Magenta, and she loves the color magenta. So this is like a shout out to my mom.
Dude.
There's
there a
even a
pink
pink
car? I
car.
was gonna
Like
say, is
there
that
is a
car
pink
red?
car. Yeah, yeah. It's like a pink sports car. You can probably see it better from the porch.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I tried to make some of the houses like really obvious so that you can kind of like tell where you are, so you don't get lost.
Yeah.
Because like I know exactly where everything is, but it's just me.
That would be a different, more horrifying game. It's just like a procedurally generated town that you just, every time you turn down a street, it switches it up and you can never leave.
Oh my god, yes. I think I saw that as a like a train. There was like a train where like every time you turn around, it's like morphed into something that was terrifying.
No.
It was like amazing,
What
but it
is
was
the
terrifying.
Silent Hills version of this game?
Oh my gosh.
God.
Yeah, that's so good.
So what's your like? You've been working on a year now for a year now. Are you just kind of like? Are you trying to hit some like a release, or are you just kind of like casually working on this? What's your plan?
Well, this playable demo that we're doing right now was like my main plan for the past bit. So now that it's done, I'm probably gonna like sleep, and then after that, the plan is to just sort of keep implementing things. I have a lot of like polish I want to do, like art-wise, but also like a couple of other features to add. And then from there, hopefully, just publishing. There's not like a solid like deadline, but sooner than later is ideal.
It goes back to that like knowing when to put the period at the end of the sentence when you're dealing with nostalgic subject matter, right?
For sure. Because yeah, I could work on this game and add stuff for like the rest of my life. So
Yeah.
At a certain point.
Is there anywhere with a secret vending machine where Pepsi's only cost 50 cents?
It would be an RC Cola machine, and
Okay.
it's not there yet. I did actually hide something in one of the houses, but it's not in this version. But my plan is to hide like something in like someone's garage. I'm not sure what yet, but like just take the collision off of one garage somewhere and just have something in there. I don't know what yet.
So
But
what
I
we
will
have to
take
do-
fan suggestions of what to put in the garage.
What we have to do is just get all game developers in Canada to all move to the same town, and then just make a game about that town, and then we could actually model it with full realism and actually get it done.
That would be really interesting, actually. I did see, I forget who it was, but I did see someone like detail modeling King Street, and like it was amazing. I was like, I'm literally on King Street. This is beautiful.
It's cool. We'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but it was good.
Good old Kent Smith. No relation.
Oh my god, it's actually there's a realtor in Belleville whose name is Ken, and his slogan is "If I can't sell your house, no one can," or something. No, that's what I just put. Sorry, it's Oh my gosh, why can't I remember what it is now?
You just stole his joke.
I just stole it. I
The
flipped it around. I flipped
What
it
is this, the mind of
around.
Mencia?
Okay.
You'll never see it.
Now I can't remember what it is. Oh my god.
Joe
That's-
Rogan's gonna come on here and yell at us.
Am I going fast?
Oh yeah, I think it's if
diagonally? I feel like
I think it's if you can't sell your house, I can, or something like that. Yeah. Oh, that's gonna bother me now. Now I have to look it up. Okay, I'm gonna look it up really quickly because it's gonna bother me.
This is a great van. It's like one of those old Toyota
Yeah,
ones or something.
that's a van I need in my driveway.
Yeah,
That's a
good
Derek
man.
man for sure.
Uh-huh.
Is that called the Town Ace? The High Ace? Something like
Smells like patchouli on the inside.
that?
Okay, yeah, it's if you can't sell your home, I can. That's what it was.
That's pretty good. It's a pretty good.
It's good.
It's a pretty good tagline.
It's definitely my favorite tagline. It's the best.
It's better than like the husband and wife duo ones, where they're like, you know what I mean? We're like, we're doing this together and we're married. It's like, all right. I didn't ask for your life story.
It's a family business.
Oh my god. I don't know if you've seen those ads around Toronto that are like, it's like a woman she's like, her head is on like a cartoon body and she's like in a bed and she's like, I never sleep until your house is sold or something.
Amazing.
Starting to enter into the same art space as like when companies do caricatures of employees that have worked there for 5 years. You know?
For sure. Oh, I actually love these NPCs. They actually like follow you as you move, and I think it looks creepy because they have these faces.
Oh, the petty local politics.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's always funny when I try to canvass for like a provincial or like federal level candidate, and I'll get to somebody's house and they'll be like, what are they gonna do about this manhole cover? You know, it's just like, I think you got to contact like a
That's municipal, bud. Sorry.
clerk somewhere, sir.
For sure. There's always that person. Like, especially like even just talking to somebody like just casually and then they just like bring up something random and it's just like a 25-minute conversation about how they're annoyed that like garbage pickup is on Tuesday or something. Like, what?
People in the chat saying that last capsule person had real strong bad energy.
I think there's actually one other person left if you're interested.
Sure, yeah.
Should I tell you where they are?
Maybe at this point, yeah.
Okay, go the other way.
This way.
Yeah, and then when you get to the next intersection, turn left. So I guess in 3 meters, turn left. And then turn right at the next street.
Your big finale here. Let's see. I wonder what their house looks like.
It's actually one of my favorites. I just like the color combination. Okay, it's the last house on the right.
It's almost a horror movie reference.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Good time. Sport.
Oh, I didn't mean to click that so quickly.
Walk the dog. Oh. No, when's he gonna be back?
Hey, do you want to walk my dog? Yes.
I don't know when he's
They're
gonna
not
be
here.
back. He's got a better life than me.
What should I say?
Oh man. Blow up the man's whole world. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. The old person understands.
Everything works out in the end.
There you go. That's nice.
What a whirlwind.
Have a good one.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite one too.
Yeah.
Indigo, this
Okay,
game is
good.
amazing.
Yep.
Thank you.
I hope you get all the sleep that you deserve after this.
Me too. Really quickly, last anecdote. That guy is actually based off of this. I remember there was this guy on my paper route, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to walk my dog?" And I was like, 12, and so I was like, "Yeah, like I'm gonna make money." And so I go, and he's all like, "Oh, like someone else is walking him, and you're on rollerblades. That's dangerous. Come back." And so I walk back. I go back home. I like walk back over to him. He's like 4 blocks away, which was like a huge walk because I was 12. And I go back to him and I walk his dog and everything. And I go back and he's just like, "Thanks, bye." And he like does not pay me at all because it's like an honor to walk his dog. And I was like,
Ah,
I was so thrilled. I was like, and that's why you get paid up front.
You got paid in exposure.
Got exposed to a
Literally.
dog.
Indigo, this is so cool. Thank you so much for showing this to us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having
What
me.
an amazing thing. This is going to do it for us in our May edition of Dirty Rectangles Online. I hope everyone had a great time. All that good stuff.
that's great.
We're going to take off here. Indigo, again, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Can people get this right now, or are you just like hanging on to it for a bit before you release this? Like,
Yeah, it's actually up today. It's the first day. I just uploaded it like 2 hours ago. So,
awesome.
so yeah, it's on Itch right now. It's literally just called Roller Girl, and you can find it on Twitter as well. It'll be in the bio soon. I had to put it in the bio, but it'll be in the bio, and also Instagram as well.
Hell yeah, that's amazing. I love it. Everyone go download Roller Girl. Looks amazing. Support Indigo. We will be back next month with a new batch of presenters. And if you, yes, you, want to present on the show, then you can join us on our Discord, which is a really good way of doing it. dirty-rectangles.com/Discord will get you there. And you can ask to jump on or just message any of us on Twitter at Dirty Rectangles or at rectangles_TO. Am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so.
No?
I did
No, I
it.
think-
Cool. All right, folks, let's get out of here before my computer explodes because it's giving me the warnings. We're out of here. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.